Welcome to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. Now, here's your host, Lisa Condit.
Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre with Lisa Condit. I'm Hank Stoltz. Let's go to Lisa right now because we've got a very special show. We're going to be bringing Troy Siebels on in just a moment. And just, Lisa, we're hanging in there. If everybody heard the news at the top of the hour, some states are going to start to open things up. Unfortunately, Massachusetts has been hit very hard by the coronavirus, but we're in the midst of the surge. But I think people are starting to hope and see some light at the end of the tunnel and keep hopeful thoughts.
Yes, well, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure being here with you. And I am really pleased that Troy Siebels, our president and CEO, is able to join us today because the truth is people love to hear from him. And one of the things that I think is so interesting and so valuable is that Troy is somebody who really embodies why the performing arts are important. You know, I know sometimes people think performing arts, and maybe that's a little fluffy. That's kind of a nice to have. But especially when, as a nonprofit, we're working towards the future, what's the value of what the performing arts and the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory adds to the fabric of our lives in our community? So, Troy, welcome.
Morning. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So, Troy, I know that you are getting a lot of questions lately. Of course, you always do. But what seems to be the crux of what people are asking you?
I think people are concerned that about what I think people are concerned about the theater. I think that they see that we've been forced to close our doors and cancel a couple of months worth of events, and they're concerned about the theater. And I think, sure, they're right to be. It's a big deal for us, and it's a big impact. But we are resilient, and we've got a lot of support out there. We will absolutely be here through this. And right now, we're just planning for the best possible future we can, and thinking about how the world is going to come back when it does come back, and how to give people confidence that they can come together for events.
Absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about why the performing arts and the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory, what are those values that they're really adding to not just our audiences, but our community, some of the students? What would you tell people when they ask you, so why is the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory important with everything else that's going on right now? Why is that important?
I think that exposure to and participation in the performing arts is important for everyone. I think that as young people, it can bring people out of their shell. I think that being a part of the performing arts helps open your eyes to different viewpoints. That's what theater does. It asks you as the audience member to step into someone else's shoes and see something from their perspective. And if we ever needed empathy or see something from a different perspective in the world, this is the time. I'm not just talking about coronavirus. I'm talking about the 21st century. And beyond that, it increases self-confidence and assurance and teamwork, all the things that have become catchphrases, but it's true. And I think it affects everybody to that point, but there are some people that it affects really on a transformational level. I'm a theater person. I grew up as a theater person, and I was never the kid in high school that was on the football team. I know that's going to come as a shock to everybody who knows me personally, but I was never the big athlete. And not every kid is going to be a big Broadway star any more than every kid's going to be a football star. But it enables kids who have not found a place in the world somewhere else to find a place.
Well, I have a question for you, Troy.
Relationships. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, so obviously you're somebody who ended up in the performing arts, and if anybody knows you, they know that you're very intelligent, and you probably could have gone into anything that has to do with data or math or analysis. So let's talk a little bit about why you ended up in the performing arts. You know, we talked about this once at a staff retreat. What was your first exposure to the performing arts? Because I think this is relevant to our community and others' first exposure.
You know, I went to see a performance of South Pacific at the Denver Center for the Performing Arts when I was very young, and I sort of never looked back. You know, I mean, it just opened my eyes to a world that I didn't know was there. And
honestly, we need more creative problem solvers, right? And that sense of joy.
Sure. Yeah.
You went from enjoying the South Pacific to, I remember you telling us a little bit about growing up and being able to see your brother. Every summer, you guys did a theater camp together. Tell us a little bit about that. Not necessarily from Troy Siebels. This is my very personal information, but it's a great example of being able to build on relationships and build skills that then help people later in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I moved to the East Coast and went into theater, and he moved to the West Coast and went into television. But summers, he came back to Central Massachusetts, and we worked out in South Hadley together every year for some years at a summer theater that did a different show every week. And boy, talk about trial by fire, you know, and how to put together an entire production 7 times in a summer, 1 a week or 8 maybe. It was really it was intense. But that's how you forge skills and friendships and relationships that last the rest of your life. It's just transformational. I don't know how else to say it. For the people that really who have it in their bones, there's nothing else like it. And I think that everybody needs a little bit. Some people need a lot of it.
Well, and it really, truly is. So let's fast forward. You did the camp together with your brother. One of you was think, the other was do. Sounds like great corporate training to me, Troy. I'm not sure about that. And then, you know, you did this whole adaptation of A Christmas Carol, and your network expanded even more. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll bring it back to current day.
I met my wife Jane doing A Christmas Carol in New Hampshire. You know, and I've done that I've met so many friends and people that I know I've met doing that show over the course of the years because I did an adaptation and I've done it so many times now that it gets a little bit better every year. And people ask if it gets old doing the same show every year. But there's always something new. And more than that, it always reminds me why I'm in this business. There is a creative outlet, and it's a way to just immerse yourself in this creative environment.
You know, it's true, and there's also a lot of discipline to this, and we've talked about that recently with the performing arts. In order to excel and to get better, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of discipline and a lot of work and a lot of technique, and those are all skills that bring us to where we are. I think it's so cool in every sense of the word that your children have also been in A Christmas Carol, and I can only imagine how festive it is at the Siebels household from Thanksgiving all the way until New Year's Eve. I can only imagine.
Yes, I have drafted them into indentured servitude every December. My son was Tiny Tim when he was tiny enough. And then he's been Peter Cratchit for the last several years, and my daughter was in it this last year as well. And it's brought our family together. My wife Jane stage managed it the first year we did it at the Hanover. It is a family thing. I think we all see what it does. It does something for all of us. My son wouldn't be the person he is but for theater, and that's just the case for so many kids.
It is, whether it's theater or dance or music. It's one of those things that helps people to focus and to reach for something bigger and better than where they are in the current moment. And so let's just bring it back to the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory. We are a nonprofit organization, but we're also a business. And all of this experience that you've touched on throughout your adolescence, adulthood, these are all amazing skills that you've been able to bring now to our community and to the organization and to downtown Worcester with the economic development and with the lobbying and with the cultural issues that we have. I know we're going to have to take a quick break, but there's anything you would like to say before we do take that quick break?
I just I think want to say that people don't always appreciate that the theater is a nonprofit. They sit in that audience with a bunch of other people that paid $60 a ticket or something, and they think, well, tons of money here. But the truth is, the dollars go to the show where they should go, and the $3 fee or whatever you pay at the box office goes to us, and that's what sustains us. This is a big hit, but we've also got a lot of support in this community, and we are so grateful for that, and that's going to keep us here and solid and secure.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk more about that when we return from this quick break. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be back with Behind the Scenes in just a minute.
Let's get back to Behind the Scenes with the Hanover Theatre. Lisa Condon talking to Troy Siebels.
Thank you for tuning in and listening. So, Troy, right before the break, we started to touch on the fact that the Hanover Theatre and Conservatory, we are a nonprofit, and we do have a business aspect to it. Recently, you sent out a message to our ticket buyers and to our subscribers who have received our weekly or monthly emails, and you've gotten quite a response to that. But do you want to just tell our listeners the message that we're communicating to our audiences?
Absolutely. We are going to be here. Nobody should have insecurity about that. We've always been pretty fiscally responsible as an organization, and we will survive this, no question. We are really prioritizing our staff, our volunteers, the people that have given their lives to make the theater a success, and their talent and their energy. And we're not laying off our staff, and we are. What we are grateful for right now is the support we're getting in the community that enables us to keep our staff on payroll and us working and planning for the times that we can come back together. And we've not shut our doors completely. Our conservatory classes are happening online, which is great. The number of kids that are doing 500 kids a week approximately are doing theater and dance classes from home with our teachers via Zoom. And someday we'll be able to bring them back into our brand new classrooms that we finished building just in time for this. But I think we need to be ready to be a gathering place again. This community is going to need to gather again, and people may not be ready to come together for a 2,000-person event overnight as soon as the government says they can, but they will need to. We are a social animal. And theater does something that you can't get any other way. The ability to sit and perceive a live event and be part of it by being in the room with the actors is something that you just can't get another way. We will come back, and we need to, because the city and the population needs us to be there. Now,
of course, we're going to be back. There are some numbers, however, that we've shared to some degree as far as, the hit that obviously our organization is going to take, because as you outlined, we do depend on our events for many different revenue streams, obviously. And if we're not having events, then we don't have revenue coming in. And so we have to hang on there, right, Troy, for the short term. But like you said, we will get ahead. One question I've gotten is, how can I help? And sometimes when we think about that big number of the shows that we didn't have in that lost revenue, people might think, I'd like to be able to do something, but is it going to make a difference? Is it insurmountable? Is it too big of a number for my $5 to make a difference for?
It's just not insurmountable. The reason we are successful is because our audience is spread over. We bring in 200,000 people a year. So each of those people spends $2. That's $1 million. It absolutely makes a difference. And in fact, we don't have any big $10 million donors. We don't have an angel funder. Our funding is very much more secure and more stable in a way because it is so diverse. It is spread over such a large audience. So absolutely, $5 or $10 or $20 makes a difference. Although I would say this too, it's not just a contribution, it's your commitment to come back and participate at the theater. So while we would love you to go onto the website and make a contribution to the resiliency campaign, that'd be great. but almost as good, or as good, I would say, is to subscribe. Come back next season to see Broadway shows on our stage, and make a commitment now to buy your subscription. We need your participation at the theater, and so that's every bit as good as a contribution.
Right, and I know that some of the buzzwords that at least we've heard a little bit are, it takes a revolution right now for the evolution of where we're going to be. And so I think that you hit on something that's important. We're planning for the future. We're investing in the future of when shows are coming back to Worcester. We're also really looking at the ways that we can give back to the people who give to us, and we can really reward our most loyal customers. We've been working on that since before we opened, but we've redoubled our efforts recently just to acknowledge and be grateful for the people who support us. One of the things that we're also talking about is membership. Membership is more important now than ever. A lot of people might look at membership as a way to gain early access to tickets for a show that's coming up. Membership is really part of being that greater community. Troy, do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think I do. Our members it is a bit of a family. We have a Franklin Square Society, which is the term we give to our leadership donors, the people that contribute at a certain level. And honestly, the degree to which that has built sort of a family, and beyond that, just the subscribers themselves, by virtue of what a subscription is. It's a ticket to a pair of seats in the theater to each of the Broadway shows over the course of the season. So by definition, each time you come to the theater, you're sitting near many of the same people each time. And the degree to which they have built community and families by row, by section, it's really kind of something. It's really neat. They go out to dinner beforehand or afterward. The theater is about community, and it is about relationships. It's not the same as going to a movie. It really is its own thing.
It's true. And we wouldn't be where we are without our other relationships with our partners and the restaurants and the gourmet program. And so we are putting together our plans and our strategies for, what in effect is like a second opening. Who would have thought that 13 years ago we'd be thinking about this right now? But there's a lot of energy behind getting us all back together. And especially, we're all going to need to go and get something to eat before and after each performance. And we have so many great restaurants. We want to keep that vibrancy alive when we do come back together in the next season. Anything else you want to just wrap up with, Troy, because we're coming to the end of our time?
I think just to say thank you and reiterate a thank you to all the folks that have supported us and all the folks that have supported us by being through the doors and as part of our family over the last, 12 years. We've been here 12 years now, and it in some ways it seems like we opened yesterday, and in some ways it seems like we've always been here. But we are just grateful to this community and to every single person in it that has embraced the theater since we first opened.
Absolutely, and it's important to remember that while our Franklin Square Society is our leadership circle, the sheer volume and the support from every level of membership is equally important to the health of our long-term organization. And I know that we are going to be looking at more ways to engage people. Obviously, social media is a great way for people to stay in touch with us. Our website, the Hanover Theatre, spelled re.org, is also a great way to stay informed. Mother's Day, as we all say, is coming up, so gift certificates for next year when you can go out with mom or that special mother figure in your life would be great. Obviously, subscriptions. We're going to be announcing subscriptions at the beginning of May. Troy, I really appreciate your time. I know everybody does. Hank, is there anything that you wanted to close and ask Troy before we sign off?
Boy, I would just say that as with all of the best interviews, as I've been listening, just a flood of memories. I mean, all those shows that I did in high school and had so much fun with. Unlike you guys, of course, I was the kid who didn't have a lot of talent. But what I loved about it was that you did have the community. So everybody, came together. Everybody has these memories of the great shows they've seen at the Hanover, or how, their own experience of what got them interested in theater, or if they did some shows themselves with community theater. So it's just been, I just want to say, Troy, it's just been great to hear about some of the ways in which you got involved and the way in which that spirit, your beginnings, really now carry through to how the Hanover conducts itself and how it works with the community, and loved hearing about how your whole family gets involved, and who hasn't dragged their wife and kids into every project that they've done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's right.
That's the joy of
happy to
theater
do
and
so.
teamwork, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. I
Yeah.
mean, that's really is all the fun.
Yeah, it sure
It
is.
brings us back to the first episode of Behind the Scenes in this format when we talked about Troy and his kids painting the plaza.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to have everybody involved, and and all the talent there too. My goodness, that's fantastic.
It's a Christmas Carol in particular. It's a professional show. We bring actors in from New York, Boston, everywhere, but it's also got a level of community to it, and that's what makes it magical, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, and Troy, you've known so many of those people for, what's the longest time you've known some of them? It's got to be decades by now, right?
20 years, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm gonna give a shout out to Denise Cormier, who I know has been at the Hanover Theatre, who was I won't say the year of the class. I don't know if she'd want me to, but who was in all those high school plays with me, and there was somebody who really did have the talent and went on to a very nice career as a professional actress. So it is amazing what it can spark in some people.
That's right.
Well,
I
just want to thank everybody for their time today. Troy, thank you. Hank, have a great day. Everybody, I want you to stay happy, stay healthy, and we will see you again at the theater soon. Right, Troy?
We absolutely will. Thank you.
Okay, and until next week, stay well and have a great day.